Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to a new Shopisode. I really quickly wanted to make this one for you guys because I'm going to be leaving my shop for about a week and a half to go visit my family up north. I'm super excited to go visit with them and see them. I'm not super excited about how the shop is immobile and it can't come with me. I wish it could, but that's not a big deal. I'm super excited to see them, but I wanted to make this video for you guys to show you guys the super cool things I've been up to lately, because there's two resin casting projects that I did that I'm super excited about how they turned out, and I wanted to bring you guys along with me and show you guys the whole process. But I'll explain why when I'm showing you guys them, why I didn't. But the main reason was that one was my first time doing it, so I didn't want to show you guys like the wrong way if I messed up, and the second was super technical. But anyway, we'll get into all the things I've been up to lately so I can show you guys this before I head out for a little bit. Alright guys, so this is the first project I wanted to show you guys that I was up to lately, and essentially these blocks are going to be for a customer who is going to be using them as knife display stands. And the really cool thing about this, for me at least, is I use Liquid Diamonds resin. And it's a resin that I haven't used before because it doesn't need pressure. And that's why I used it, because it didn't need pressure. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. As you guys can see, this is a transparent piece that doesn't have bubbles. And I just cast them in molds that literally sat here. Sorry, it's a total mess from me, making these on the outfeed table, but they literally just sat out here and they cure over 24 hours, and that's why the bubbles all come up. But I'm really happy with how they came out. She wanted two that had like a transparent blue with a little bit of pearl, and then two with like blue pearl and white pearl, and then three with like a greenish blue kind. And I think these are gonna be really cool. I mean, they're 12 inches long, and I think they're gonna make some sweet knife display stands, especially if she's using, some hybrid handles or things like that. I could see them being pretty cool. So I'll show you guys the other project really quickly, but let me know what you guys think about maybe making a video with Liquid Diamonds or some other resin. I personally do not recommend Liquid Diamonds specifically. I fortunately had a great result with it, but I don't like how long it takes to get hard. It says a full cure in 24 hours, but they don't really get hard until 3 days after. So anyway, we can talk more about that if we do another video, but let me know what you guys think down in the description, because I'd like to. I think it could help a lot of people who don't have pressure pots. And anyway, we'll move on to the other one. Alright, so really quick before I show you guys this next project, I thought it'd be best to explain kind of the background behind it. So this lady messaged me who had seen a couple of my videos of me making hybrid blocks, and she's an interior designer out in Colorado, and essentially she wanted me to make her some display blocks. So the blocks I normally make for materials for other makers, she wanted me to polish them up and make them really nice and follow a color palette she had to match this kitchen she's decorating. And so it was a super, super fun project for me because I've never done anything like this in terms of, it was 7 blocks in total, and so for each block she kind of had an idea to follow the color palette, where the burl should be positioned, all these really cool ideas, and it was a lot of fun for me, and I wanted to take you guys along on the process like I mentioned at the beginning, but I was just so focused on, I did 1 block at a time when I was casting them. Normally I can do 2 at a time to be the most efficient with my pressure pots, but I wanted to just dial it in and make sure every single one was perfect, especially because these were going to be on display. And she was way more concerned about how they looked than anything. So I'll show you guys them. I'm super happy with how they turned out, but that's why I didn't bring you guys along with it. And now in the future, if I ever do have something like this come up again, I'll feel confident enough to bring you guys along in a future Shopisode, and this should be pretty fun. Alright guys, so probably what I'll do, I'll put up on the screen the color palette she sent me. But essentially it was like copper, teal, navy, you know, a darker navy, and I'm really happy with how these all turned out. This one was just kind of a navy turquoise. I'll just show you guys them all one by one. I'm super happy with all of the finishes. This was kind of a teal and copper mix. This one, I'm really happy with how it turned out because when I was mixing it, I wasn't sure how the copper leaf was gonna show up with the navy because, you know, I couldn't see the copper leaf at all, and I was hoping, which turned out to be true, that once I cut into it, the pieces of copper that would be exposed to the air, you know, you'd still get to see the good amount of color. And I'm really glad that ended up working, and I'm glad there's a couple big pieces like this that were able to show a lot. So I'm really happy with how that turned out, because this was the one I was mainly skeptical of whether or not it would work perfectly. And I'm also really happy with this one because this was a really cool piece of burl that allowed me to very easily do these two separate sides of resin without having any worries of mixing them. And so this was pretty cool because it's really hard to do this unless you have a piece of burl like this. So that was fun. This one is kind of a blue-green teal mix. It's kind of hard to see unless you're in person and giving it the right light. The blue is mainly over here, and it's also slightly transparent. And I wish you guys could see the finish in person. I'm really happy with how my buffing situation has figured out. This one's super cool. Some of the I didn't put any pearlescent in here. I've just put a little bit, not enough to do anything, and somehow it settled on the bottom. And if you guys look at the teal, it's super cool. It looks almost like metallic, or sorry, settled on the burl, I meant, not the teal. Anyway, I'm pretty happy with how that one turned out too. And this one's probably my favorite just because I never get tired of the transparent ones. You know, they just always look like, you know, I'm looking at a coral reef or something, especially with the Australian burls because they're so tight on the top. But anyway, guys, those were all the blocks. I'm super happy with these. If anybody ever wants me to make a display piece, you know, for decoration in a home or something, let me know for sure. Pretty much the only last thing I have to share with you guys is to show this knife that I made the other week, and to tell you guys to go check out that video if you're interested. And just to mention how I'm going to be getting a lot more into knife making. I ordered a grinder and some steel billets so I can actually start making some knives from scratch, and I'll definitely make some videos on that if people are interested. I'll definitely make one, and if people like it, then I'll keep making more, but I think it'll be fun. You know, it's a lot of fun for me, so I think you guys would like it, especially if we're doing, you know, the kind of hybrid stuff. These were some scales I messed up on die stabilizing. The red, I just didn't let it soak long enough. As you guys can kind of see, that's what's nice about die stabilizing, is you can kind of see the problem. It's pretty obvious. It just didn't soak in far enough. So anyway, I thought I'd mention that since it was so obvious just sitting there in the background. And I am going to make a video on die stabilizing eventually. I'm kind of dialing it in. I've got the blue color down really well, and now I'm working on the red, and I just want to make sure I can do a couple colors before I make a video. So anyway.
Hey everyone, how's it going? I really quickly wanted to add on this final piece to the Shopisode because I'm back at my parents' house and I wanted to share with you guys this table saw that I got from a family friend. It's super cool, and I'll show you guys a close-up and everything that I'm going to have to kind of add on to just kind of keep it up to date and everything. But I wanted to add this on to the Shopisode because I thought it's something really cool that I hadn't really got to share with you guys yet. So this table saw is a Powermatic, as some of you may be able to tell. It's a 5 horsepower Powermatic table saw, which is awesome. It's super powerful. It's way more power than I would probably ever need. And it's on 230 volts, so 240, same thing pretty much. And there's only a few things that I actually need to kind of restore, and restore is not really the right word because it actually works fine. and it's pretty much usable as is. But, you know, I'd like to make it super pretty. I wanted to share this with you guys because I've had this actually since around Christmas time. A family friend was getting rid of this. It's actually made in 97, I believe, and I was born in 1995, so it's kind of cool. I'm only a couple years older than this saw. And anyway, what's awesome about it is, and also the downside is, it's here at my parents', so whenever I come here, I get to work on it a little bit, but that's the downside as well, is it's so heavy and so hard to move. I don't plan on really moving it until it's going to be the final move. So if I figure out once I graduate that I'm going to get a job down in the area where my current shop is and I will be able to afford to stay there, I'll move it down there. If I move up here and work around this area, then I'll probably keep it around here and put it in a shop around here. So anyway, moving on to the things that I need to kind of tune up on it, because like I said, it works great. It turns on, you know, everything's true. Powermatics are great machines, even if they're, you know, a few years old, and this isn't even as old as some great Powermatic table saws are. So some of the things you may be able to see right away. This melamine veneer, or, you know, sheet you want to call it, on top of the MDF needs to be replaced. There's a couple things. My grandpa is actually gonna help me a lot with this because he likes fun projects, and him and I have been thinking about whether we just want to make a whole new extension table, which we could also, you know, bring fully out to this rail, and then, you know, just make that out of melamine and make a box, because that's essentially what it is. It's essentially a hollow box so that the bolts can still come in. And the other option, which would of course be super easy, but the MDF, or, you know, the particle board is fine, but, and it doesn't need to be replaced, but the other option would be to just, you know, tear all this off, sand it with like a belt sander so that it's perfectly level still, and then use just a new sheet of melamine veneer. So those are kind of the two options. We'll probably just go with building a new one because it's probably going to be a lot easier than trying to peel that off and make sure it's level. And, you know, there's, you know, some, it's just going to be a lot easier. There's some separation here, and anyway, so that's one thing. Of course, the tabletop, I'd like to sand it down and just remove a little of the rust spots, but it's actually, if you think about it being, you know, 20 years old, or 21 years old, it's in phenomenal condition. I mean, these are just, you know, splatters from some moisture getting splattered onto it, but like the main section is really nice. And also I need to add on some sidings, some panels, or I forget what they call them. I think they call them liners or something. But anyway, I am probably just going to use some HDPE plastic. That's what they actually use on their AccuFences. But it works fine, actually, and I need to get a new guide and a new ruler tape. But it actually moves fine, and it locks down super solid. So that's that. The other thing I need to do is get a motor cover for this, because my friend's or my family friend who was using this, he was using it in a barricade shop, or company, that's essentially what he owns, and they were making barricades and cutting 2x4s and all these things at the same exact height. So they dialed in the height they needed that the saw would never need to go below, and essentially they built this sheet of metal that they screwed onto it to maximize dust collection. And nowadays they make retrofitted plastic covers that you can just put over this so that you can move the blade without any problem and still retain the dust collection, because right now I actually can't lower the blade any more than that. And so I haven't been able to fully tell how easily the blade lowers, but it definitely raises fine. It's, you know, it needs to be cleaned out. I'd like to do that as well, get down in there. And then the other thing is just to buy a plastic flange to put on that. But that's pretty much it. The last other thing before I forget is the cord just needs a new plug wired on that, but that's pretty much. So I really hope you guys liked that little update on the saw. I'm super excited to work on it. I love these little kind of projects where you get to take something and kind of make it yours in a way by adding on the little things. So let me know what you guys think about that. The ultimate plan for this saw and its like end game, like the final goal with it, is either to sell it, because if I do upgrade my table saw, I'd probably like to get a saw stop, or to obviously use it myself, and then I'd sell the Grizzly. So that's definitely an option. If anybody is watching this and is interested in a saw, I could ship it to somebody, but I'll probably either sell it locally, unless somebody really wants it, or I will keep it. So anyway, that's kind of the goal for this saw. It's gonna be a ton of fun, and I'm glad I got to share it with you guys.
Hey boy. Hey. Wanna come outside? Hey Cooper. One last thing I wanted to mention before this Shopisode was over, everyone, is that the Resin Cast podcast by myself and Zach Higgins is going to be live next week on Friday the 17th, and that's August the 17th, so really look forward to that. We have about 2 episodes that are going to be going live, and then a 3rd episode shortly after that, in a week or 2 after it launches. So we talk about a ton of cool stuff, and you guys are more than welcome to email us questions to answer on the podcast, and it's going to be a ton of fun. So definitely put that down in your calendars, and it should be a ton of fun. So that's about it, everyone, for this Shopisode. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. The 2 main things were the resin projects that I wanted to share with you guys, and also talk about the little knife making I'm going to be getting into. I didn't want to make this one super long, so I hope it didn't go too long, and just wanted to show you guys what I've been up to before I head out for a week or so. So like the video if you guys liked it, subscribe to the channel. Always feel free to comment down below with questions or email me. My email is always in the description if you have questions or anything like that. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks so much for watching, and take it easy.